Chapter 16. Serious Complications. Penny questioned her chum further, but could not shake Louise's firm conviction regarding the reflection she had viewed in the mirror. The girls quietly sought Mr. Parker and communicated the information to him. "I'll take a look around the house," he promised. Within 15 minutes he returned to report that no one could be found loitering near the premises. "Just the same, I feel uneasy," Penny confessed to her father when they were alone. "Louise isn't the type to imagine anything. I do wish Jerry hadn't decided to go through with this plan." "Well, we might call it off," decided Mr. Parker. "I really doubt any good will be gained by his spending the night in room 7. It was just one of those happy ideas which didn't seem to work out. "Shall I run up and tell him now?" Penny asked. "Might as well, I guess." Leaving the group of merrymakers below, Penny climbed the stairs. A light was burning in the room occupied by Mr. and Mrs. Comstock, who had agreed to remain in their quarters during the party. The remainder of the upper floor was dark. Penny rapped lightly on the door of room 7. "Jerry," she called softly. There was no response. Penny knocked again on the door and called in a louder voice, "Jerry." Still there was no answer, and in sudden fear she twisted the doorknob. "Why, it's locked!" she exclaimed. "Jerry! Jerry! Are you all right?" A wave of terror swept over Penny. Something had happened to the reporter. She felt certain of it. Turning, she raced downstairs to find her father. He was talking to the society editor, but upon seeing the expression on his daughter's face, he instantly excused himself and joined her in the deserted hallway. "What is it, Penny?" "Come quick, Dad." "What has happened to Jerry?" "I don't know. I'm afraid of it. When I rapped on the door, he didn't answer." "The scamp probably fell asleep. Don't get so excited, Penny." "The door was locked, Dad." "Locked? That's funny." Mr. Parker started up the stairway 2 steps at a time. He tried the door to room number 7, calling sharply, "Jerry! Jerry!" When his hard pounding failed to produce results, he turned towards Penny and saw that he too was excited. "Something is wrong," he muttered. "This door shouldn't be locked. Gus Comstock has a key, I think. We'll rout him out." Mr. Parker darted down the hall and rapped on the door of Mr. and Mrs. Comstock's room. After a moment, Gus opened it, peering at the pair with undisguised hostility. "Now, what do you want?" he demanded. "Ain't it enough that you bring a noisy, carousing bunch of folks here without bothering us when we're in bed?" Gus Comstock had not been in bed, for he was fully dressed. Mr. Parker did not take issue with him. "Do you have a key to room 7, he demanded. "Yes." "Then open the door for us." "And be quick about it," Mr. Parker commanded. "We're afraid something has happened in there." "Again?" shrieked Mrs. Comstock from the bed. Oh, this will ruin us." "Don't stand there staring, man," Mr. Parker said impatiently to Gus. "Give me the key, or I'll have to break the door down." Mr. Comstock retreated into the depths of the bedroom and reappeared with master key. His wife, drawing a ragged dressing gown over her nightdress, followed the group down the hallway. Gus unlocked the door of room 7 and switched on the lights. All eyes focused upon the great mahogany bed. It was empty. "Jerry was gone!" Penny exclaimed. Mrs. Comstock uttered a shriek of terror, collapsing in her husband's arms. "Drop the hysterics," Mr. Parker ordered grimly. "That is, unless you want everyone in the house to learn what has happened." "We'll be ruined, Mrs. Comstock moaned, but she kept her voice at a low pitch. Mr. Parker's gaze moved swiftly about the bedroom. There was no evidence of any struggle. The bedspread showed where Jerry had been resting. Evidently he had removed his shoes before laying down, for they had been set neatly by the post. Mr. Parker jerked up the pillow. Beneath it was Jerry's revolver. "This is the queerest thing I've ever encountered," the newspaper man muttered. "No shots fired, not a sound from this room, yet Jerry disappeared from under our own noses." "Maybe he jumped out the window like those other fellows did," Gus Comstock suggested. Mr. Parker gave him a scornful glance and did not dignify his comment with a response. Telling Penny to remain in room 7 and to touch nothing, he ran downstairs to contact several reporters whom he knew could be trusted to search the premises. Returning again to the bedroom, he went on with his inspection. Carefully, he examined the camera apparatus which had been set up. "Here's something," he exclaimed. "Did the flash bulb go off?" Penny asked eagerly. "Yes, Jerry evidently pulled the trigger which was connected with the bed. We'll rush the plates to the darkroom. Dad, do you notice a peculiar odor in here?" Penny questioned. "Now that you mention it, yes, a faint perfume." "How do you account for it?" "I don't know," said Mr. Parker shortly. "I make no pretensions of being a detective. This is a case for the police." "No, no," pleaded Mrs. Comstock. "My husband and I would be blamed for everything which has happened here, and I swear we were innocent." "Oh, please don't notify the police, Mr. Parker." "The only reason I won't might be because I fear they would bungle the case," the newspaper owner replied. "We need a very clever detective. I'll send for Gregory Keene." Having completed his inspection, Mr. Parker shooed everyone from the room, locking the door and pocketing the key. Then he telephoned his well-known friend, the detective, explaining briefly what had occurred at the old mansion. "The police haven't been called in yet," he said. "Bring your fingerprint equipment and get over here as quickly as you can, Greg." At her father's suggestion, Penny made it clear to the guests that the party was over. A few of the reporters were quietly asked to remain, while the others motored back to the city. To one of the star's photographers, Fred Herod, Mr. Parker entrusted the plates taken from room 7. "Develop these right away and see what they have," he directed. "The solution of the case may depend upon your work." "I'll get to the Riverview as soon as I can. Wait at the office for me." The reporters who had been sent to search the vicinity returned to report that they had found no trace of Jerry Livingston. "Keep searching," Mr. Parker ordered. "Until Jerry is found, you'll be on duty 24 hours a day, picking up any clues you can. Hawks, round up a man who knows the river and start dragging." "Oh, Dad," Penny murmured, "you don't think—" "No," he answered. "I believe that Jerry is still alive, but we can't afford to overlook anything. You see, by delaying the notification to the police, I'm assuming a responsibility which might result in a jail sentence, not to mention ill will of the public. We must find Jerry and solve the case quickly. If I didn't believe that Gregory Keene is a better detective than anyone on the police force, I'd never take matters into my own hands so ruthlessly." "I know a local man who is familiar with every ripple and shoal in the Cobalt," Penny said. "Mudcat Joe. He could be trusted not to talk. However, he has no equipment." "But can take care of that," Mr. Parker replied. He sent Penny with one of the reporters to contact Joe at once. Despite the late hour, the shanty boat man was roused out of his quarters without explanation, and without very much of what had occurred, Penny requested him to drag the river. "It's sure hard work and rowing back and forth all day," Mudcat sighed, "and it'll keep me from a-hunting for my own boat. But you've been mighty good to Jenny and me and the young'uns, miss. I'll get at it as soon as daylight comes." "You've not found the River Queen yet?" Penny asked, mechanically climbing back into the car. "No. I was much obliged to you for the note you left, but when I got to the Snark River, there was none sight of no houseboat." "My father will pay you well for your work," she told him. "Perhaps you'll earn enough money to buy lumber for a new boat." Mudcat Joe's problem had slipped far into the back of Penny's mind. At another time she would have wondered what had become of the houseboat which she and Louise had viewed from the bridge, but now her thoughts were concerned solely with Jerry Livingston. The events of the night seemed unreal, almost a nightmare. What had become of the missing reporter? She could not believe that his body would have been found in the river, yet as her father had said, they could not afford to overlook any possibility. Penny felt ill with dread and worry. Arriving at the mansion once more, she learned that Gregory Keene had come during her absence. He hasn't run into a single worthwhile clue so far, Mr. Parker told Penny. He thinks our best bet may be the photograph Jerry snapped. We'll run over to the Star office now and see how it turned out. What will be done with Mr. and Mrs. Comstock? Greg is questioning them now. And Laura? She'll stay here too, at least until Greg has talked with her. Taking Louise with them, Mr. Parker and his daughter made a record-breaking trip to Riverview. Leaving the girl at her own home, they went on to the Star office. Many of the rooms were dark, for the final edition had been run off the presses hours before, but lights burned on the second floor where the photographers had their quarters. As Penny and her father entered, Fred Harrod emerged from the darkroom, his hands dripping wet. How did it turn out? Mr. Parker demanded eagerly. Well, there's something on the plate. Come on and look at it. Penny and her father stepped into the darkroom. Fred lifted the plate from the developer tray and held it in front of the red light. It can't make much of it myself, he confessed. Looks like a picture gallery. Penny peered over her father's shoulder as they both studied the plate. Why, it's the east wall of the room, she exclaimed. A photograph of those 4 horrid paintings. You're right, agreed Mr. Parker in disappointment. Our clue, the best one we had, amounts to absolutely nothing. Do, 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 do.